At the start of the show, we have a guest joining us. She's been on our show several times. She's from this area in Texas, North Texas. We're going to talk today with Congressman Beth Van Duyne. She represents Texas Congressional District 24. And she, I will tell you, among other great things about her, this is a race that she won and was viewed to be, and actually stated by people in the know in Washington, one of Nancy Pelosi's biggest disappointments. She thought they were going to take back this district and have a Democrat representative. Not so fast. Beth Van Duyne, in addition to representing this district in Congress, she's a former mayor of the city of Irving, a very large city just outside of Dallas. She also, in between being mayor and now being member of Congress, she worked for the Department of Housing and Urban Development Southwest region. She was a regional administrator since 2017, working for Ben Carson, Secretary Ben Carson in the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And so she's worked in an extremely important arena in understanding the role of the federal government in helping people under the great leadership of Ben Carson, kind of really thinking through seriously the policies that will help people. So she's had great experience and very, very popular in North Texas and won that seat, and she's now in Congress representing us. So please help me welcome Beth Van Duyne. Hi there.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Okay, so I sent you a long list of things I was going to ask you.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to start with one thing. Actually, I'm going to go out of order. You spoke at CPAC this weekend.
I did.
I've told our listeners a lot about CPAC, and you were there. And I just meant to say, first of all, wasn't it an amazing conference?
It was. Yeah. I only got to see it on Sunday. I was out of town, but I got to see it on Sunday, and it was so many people, so much energy, so many great ideas. I love the people up on the stage, but even better, I think, were the people in the audience.
Yeah. One point I was making to people is, the leftists try to envision or picture people on the conservative side as kind of angry and this is just a happy bunch of people kind of celebrating America.
Optimistic, too. I mean, and very proud to be Americans. I mean, and love the ideals that were brought up on stage. Very supportive, I think, of one another. And I really, they believe that back in 2022, we're going to get our country back.
Oh my gosh, well that'd be great. I will ask you before I get into, I know you talked there about healthcare freedom. I want to talk about that for a second, but were you there when the woman spoke she actually kind of had a moment of fame on national television. She is a Virginia mother. She's from China. She lived under Mao Zedong.
No, I missed that.
Oh my gosh.
I missed it.
She really brought tears to people's eyes because she lives in Virginia, and the reason she was on national television, she went to one of the school board meetings and said, stop teaching my kids critical race theory. Stop teaching these kids to hate each other. Yeah. And she said, this is just what Chairman Mao did to us during the Cultural Revolution. It was really powerful.
Too bad more people aren't hearing that. Too bad more people aren't seeing that. I would love for the mainstream media to be taking her testimony and having her on and talking about it.
Oh yeah, well I'm definitely gonna reach out to her. I tracked her down. I chased her down afterwards, and I got her contact information. So I'd love to have her.
Good, have her on.
Oh my gosh! And actually, for growing up in China, so really having Chinese as her first language, she was very clear too. I know some people. Heaven knows I couldn't speak Chinese, but she is just wonderfully articulate, and she was really drawing parallel after parallel. So
that question was asked during that panel about what can we do in this audience, right? What can we do to take back our healthcare system? What can we do to take back our country? And I said, it's not just important to vote for president. It's not just important to vote for Congress, but look at those local races.
Yeah.
Mayor's races, city council races, school board races, because this is where we see people coming in with these crazy radical left ideas. The person who ran against me in the general election for Congress got her start on a school board. And then she quit halfway through her first term, but now they have a platform. And they can say, we have served. So really be involved, engaged, and willing to run at your local level.
Yeah, run. And also, if you think you can't run, the other thing you can do, because so many candidates, I'm sure you and others experience this, you need volunteers.
Yeah.
You need people to actually do the door knocking, do the phone calling, and those kind of things. They may not seem glamorous, but they're that kind of chipping away at a campaign to get to victory.
Now, August in Dallas, in North Texas, knocking doors in August is not fun.
Yeah, no, I'm not happening.
And we had people who were masked, and they had like the worst suntans because it was right here on their face. But it's so important, having that opportunity to talk to people firsthand. and hear from them. Go where they feel most comfortable, as opposed to campaigning like some of our colleagues on the left, from their couch and calling it in. You can't do that. You have to go and talk to people. And I think once you really get out there and you listen, you'll hear that the ideas that we see being thrown out from the radical left are not popular. They're not popular at all.
Oh, exactly. And they do. The left manages, I often say, they have the best PR firm in the world somehow, because they manage to sell really, really radical and oppressive ideas. And it kind of sounds like they're inviting you over to share a cup of coffee. I mean, they have a friendly tone to them while they're saying, we're taking all your freedom away, but you're not going to recognize it. So let's just talk about healthcare. So conservatives would love to have a robust healthcare system without government oppression. So where are we headed on that?
We actually just had our first meeting today. So what has happened is Republicans realized that we lost a great opportunity back in 2017.
Yes.
We had an opportunity to be able to reshape the healthcare debate, and we lost an opportunity by one vote. We don't want that to happen again. When we take the House back in 2022, we want to have some solutions. We're not just the party of no. We listen, we get the experts in the room, we figure it all out. Our focus is going to be on allowing people to be able to choose what they want, to be able to choose what is important to them, personalize it to their budget, to their needs, to their family, and be able to have as many choices as possible, as opposed to being treated like the one-size-fits-all federal government program. It does not meet the needs for all people. And what we've seen since Obamacare started was we've seen rising healthcare costs.
Yeah.
We've seen decreases in access as more doctors are opting out, and we've also seen decreases in quality. People are having to wait months. People are being denied care, and that's all since we started this one-size-fits-all program. People want to be able to have choices, and it empowers people, and it's much more personable to their needs.
Okay, so you say choices, be really clear. You're talking about enabling the private insurance sector
private sector to come up with solutions that meet everybody's needs. As it was on that panel, you had a doctor who said, I'm opting out of the system. This is ridiculous. I want to see patients. My focus is on helping as many people as I can. So what he did was he doesn't take insurance anymore. What he did was the direct primary care system, that model, where he sees patients and they have a menu. They know exactly what their healthcare costs are going to be, and he can help more people that way. So that's one idea. Chad Hennings was on the panel with us as well.
Yes, that was
Love
pretty fun.
Chad.
Yeah.
Love Chad. Comments about the Dallas Cowboys was hysterical, but he was talking about what the plan that he got for his family, because he wasn't getting the care that he needed. So he went with a religious-based group. It's a group policy.
Yeah.
But it's those things that the private sector comes up with that are so much more reflective of the needs of average Americans than what DC is going to come up with.
So the private sector is going to come up with a range of policies, and what you're really trying to do is encourage that and take any regulatory burden out of the way.
Enable innovation and get out of their way.
Yeah.
Right now what we've done is we've stifled it.
Yep.
And we basically treated all doctors as a commodity, as if different places are going to different doctors with different experience levels, different training are all the exact same, and they're not. And I think doctors have gotten frustrated. You're seeing fewer people enter the healthcare field because the amount of respect that they have and ability to have those relationships with patients that is so important. It's just gone away. We need to bring that back to focusing on the patient and doctor relationship and making sure that people have access, but in a way that they feel most comfortable, not that, DC bureaucrats feel most comfortable. You mentioned that I was at HUD, right? I've seen it. Not only was it a great opportunity to see how we can help people, but it was also a great opportunity from the inside, the belly of the beast of the bureaucracy, to see how we hurt people, how we make it so much more expensive and inefficient with all of the bureaucratic red tape. And I think what you see Democrats doing is wanting to do more of that. You see it in the transportation bill. You see it with their voting acts bill that they want to put out. It's more red tape, and it's crazy. As opposed to Republicans who are like, cut the red tape. It's completely inefficient. It makes things cost more. It makes things take that much longer, and it doesn't work.
Well, it's an ideological difference. I've been talking a lot in the show, trying to talk about what it means to say Marxism is coming. And among the ideas of it is government control over everything is the mission under Marxism. Government control, because people may genuinely believe as Marxists, we can do everything better than these silly, the peasants out there. They can't figure anything out, so we'll figure it out for them. So your system allows the individual patient, or individual person to pursue the insurance they would want, and then the insurance companies have more incentives to create alternative plans, not just have one size fits all. So you're really kind of getting back to trust the people, trust the private sector versus trust the government.
Yes,
Is that fair?
without a doubt. We come up with these massive, comprehensive plans that end up going nowhere because the bigger it is, the more red flags and the more excuses you give people to vote against it. So I said, what I am, look, I'm pragmatic. Can we at least start pushing it in the right direction? Can we just have a few bills that will give people more opportunity, more independence, more choices? Can we increase the limits, for example, on healthcare spending accounts? So you have more pre-tax dollars to be able to spend on your own healthcare and your own decisions. Can we make it portable? When I left HUD to run for Congress, I lost my health insurance. I didn't lose my car insurance. I didn't lose my homeowner's insurance, but a very intimate part of my care I lost.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of forced to look around and figure out where you go from there. And the cost was ridiculous.
Yes.
It cost me, for me and my 2 kids, it cost $1,200 a month. We each had $6,000 deductibles. By the time we could even use our health care,
Right, for a healthy family, you don't, yeah.
We had already spent so much. I mean, it was the largest bill I paid for a service I never used.
It's well said, well said. Okay, we have a bunch of topics I want to hit. We could go on, but I'm with you all the way. I know you have a job fair coming up, which I want to have you talk about my little job fair story, which is, we have a service provider at our house who has done it. The guy comes and cleans the pool. I mean, literally, we have a backyard pool, which I never had growing up. But we live in Texas, and pretty much a lot of people have pools. Anyway, we have this pool guy who just basically kind of stopped coming. The company, it was a pretty big company, and we ended up talking to the company, and they said, you know what, people are quitting, and we can't find people to work. And even people who, they'll apply for a job, and so they can write down, yes, I applied to blah, blah, blah pool company. They don't show up for the interview, but they can keep on getting COVID payments or some other stay-at-home payments. And the idea of disincentivizing work by government handouts, it seems like that's kind of kindergarten economics. And I think the left knows that's kindergarten economics, but they have harmed our economy. I mean, there are other factors too, like COVID and businesses shutting down. But there are people now, there are businesses needing people, and there are people needing jobs. So tell us about your job fair.
Well, and your point about, Democrats thinking they know better than everybody else. You look at the financial policies that are coming down right now, increasing the corporate tax rate, increasing capital gains, increasing minimum wage at a time when businesses are frantically trying to reopen. And they're competing with these unextended unemployment benefits across the country, which are paying, in some cases, people more money to stay at home than get back to work. And I don't care what industry you look at. They are all starving right now for employees.
Yes.
And we have had these roundtables with small businesses, with the restaurant industry, hospitality, airline, healthcare. All of them are desperate for good people to start working there. So we had these roundtables just to connect, to make sure that we were representing and hearing what the needs were from this district. And overwhelmingly what we heard from small businesses, large business, medium-sized businesses, we need employees.
Yeah.
And we thought, what a better time to partner with all of our local elected officials, to partner and respond to all of the needs that we're hearing from the businesses. And we just decided that we were going to have a job fair. We were very strategic with the date. We wanted to make sure that it was after the end, June 26th.
After the end of
the extended unemployment benefits.
In Texas, yeah.
In Texas. So that was July. So we scheduled it for July 15th. And it was originally going to be in a school library. It was going to be a very small thing. And then we had to change the location 3 times. We're now having it at the Irving Convention Center. It's going to be Thursday from 1 to 6.
Which is tomorrow.
We have over 250 businesses signed up. We had more businesses signing up this morning, representing over 7,000 job openings. And what makes this unique is a couple of things. One, it's not just entry-level positions that we're looking at. It is every single level that you can imagine, all the way up to executive. The other thing is we wanted to make sure that this was not partisan. This is pragmatic. This is responding to the needs that we see across the country, more specifically within North Texas. So I invited all of the mayors. I invited our Texas legislators, our elected officials, regardless of politics, to be part of it. And overwhelmingly, they've all accepted. So we've had the business community, we've had the elected community, we've gotten our chambers that have gotten involved, we've gotten our community colleges that have gotten involved, people are sending it out on their social media hits. It's going to be a great event. But for us, it was looking at what's happened last year and how the government shut down these businesses. They
Yeah.
put them in a position of being out of work. Then they put the positions of the employees to get more money, and the small businesses are having to compete with the government. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to do my part and make sure that we are empowering these businesses, that we are empowering North Texas working families to be able to get back to work.
I love that. I mean, it's pragmatic, and it's pragmatic and ideological, but it's pragmatic. Just people need jobs, businesses need employees, and someone organizing them and getting them all into one place. Irving Convention Center, you are expecting a crowd.
Yes,
That's a big.
Yeah,
That's
we've
a big
already
place.
had, I think, over 16,000 hits on the website. And like I said, we have over 7,000 jobs. So come out. And you don't, if you want to register, you can register at myntxjob.com. But come out 1 to 6 Irving Convention Center, and that'll be Thursday, July 15th.
That'll be tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay, and they don't have to register. They can just come.
No, but if you do go to the website, what you'll see is you'll see all of the businesses that are listed that are coming. And you can also connect on the businesses to what jobs they have available and what they're going to be looking for.
Oh, that'd just be so good. And honest to goodness, it is kind of like government's supposed to do.
Yes.
Not to take care of you and send you your money, but just say, hey, we believe in you.
Empower you. This is
Yeah.
all
Oh, I
about
love that.
empowering the individual.
Okay, one last topic I want to hit. So here in the great state of Texas, I know everyone in the nation is talking about it, but we had the majority of our Texas elected Democrats in the Texas House flee the state because they didn't want to deal with an election integrity bill that was on the floor.
The irony. The irony.
Well, what irony? No, I'll let you get to that. But I mean, it was, this was a special session. I've mentioned we have listeners all over the country. So here in the great state of Texas, we have I'll tell our listeners, we have a session of the legislature for 6 months every other year, and that if they don't get to everything, which they never do, then they loop over and they have a special session, and then the governor makes a list of here are the things we must do. Top item was election integrity. And the Democrats decided instead of showing up, they would flee, not only because then they weren't forced to take a position, but they could deny a quorum and not allow things to pass. So, first of all, your overall reaction to that as a public servant who's been a mayor, who's been a member of Congress now.
Look, I have gone to council meetings when I knew my vote wasn't going to count, right? I knew I was going to be on the losing end. I'm in the minority right now in Congress. The fact is that I made a pledge to my district. Yeah. If I got elected, I was going to fight for you. I was going to have my voice heard, even if I knew I was going to be on the losing end. You go there and you do your job. You've got people right now on the Dem side in the Texas legislature. The Democrats have flown private with their Miller Lite. They've flown to hide behind Biden and Harris. But to hide behind Biden and Harris,
right.
Basically surrendering the state to D.C. They have taken their job, which was to fight for Texas in Texas, to D.C. They are saying they would prefer to have that kind of totalitarian regime power over the state versus local control.
Right.
And you think about the hypocrisy which is involved. They're fighting voting rights. Nobody's denying that the folks in Texas in the Texas state legislature got there because people voted for them. Yeah. They are in the minority, but you are completely disenfranchising the entire state's voters by taking off so that they can't even do their job. And by the way, did you hear today that they also get to pay $200 a day per diem?
Who's paying them? We, the taxpayers?
The taxpayers.
Oh
I
my
mean, this
gosh.
is a vacation for these people. Get back here and do your job. I mean, enough already.
And you know what else? They don't want to discuss election integrity because actually, as I've said in the show many times,
it's a takeover. It's a takeover from the federal government of states' rights, which is defined by the Constitution. This is a complete federal government takeover, and they are surrendering our state.
Exactly. And in Texas, we had many bills, and other states do too, have election integrity bills, and they're running through various provisions. And everyone I looked at closely, including Texas, they have some good things in there, voter ID. These were not in any way bigoted, unfair. They were not in any way going to limit anyone from voting.
They were supposed to help people to vote. This would have made it easier to vote. It would have made it harder to cheat.
Exactly right. And so what they are saying, though, the Democrats who fled Texas in a private jet, I'm just saying, polluting the air. Anyway, they got to Washington to push for the passage of what the Democrats call the For the People Act, or as I say, the permanent fraud. I had a great permanent mandated fraud or something, permanent election fraud mandate. permanent election fraud mandate, everything in there. So you must have, that was one of your first votes when you were up there, right? This year on For the People Act?
Yeah, and by the way, I still showed up knowing that we were probably going to lose because Democrats overwhelmingly, all of them, supported it. But it's a federal government takeover of our election laws. Again, completely against the Constitution, which gives the power to the state legislators. But I mean, the things that they had involved in that bill were crazy. I mean, you're basically having San Francisco laws for the rest of the country. You know, it's
right.
having taxpayer dollars pay for races, for campaigns. It was extending it, lowering the age range. I mean, it was making it completely easy to commit fraud.
Yeah. It's the Vote Fraud Enablement Act. That's what I was calling it. And actually, one thing in California, which is proven to be a source of fraud, was the idea of, first of all, sending out ballots unsolicited. And so we had people in the election season last time saying, look, I got 5 at my house. I mean, they're getting unsolicited ballots.
For people
but also ballot harvesting. So you could, go ahead.
Well, for people who argue that there was no voter fraud last year, right? There was no voter fraud.
Yeah.
You live here. You know that in this district, in Texas 24, we actually had a mayoral candidate that was arrested on 126 counts of voter fraud. Now, we don't know how many actually went through before he was caught. But the fact is that was 126 counts that he was caught and arrested on.
Yeah.
Now, for people who say that wouldn't have mattered, I'd say talk to Marionette Miller Meeks, our new congresswoman, also a physician out of Iowa, who won 6 votes.
Yeah.
Every single vote counts. And for us to act like, okay, well, I mean, there's an accepted amount of voter fraud, that's okay. No. If you can prevent it, prevent it. And all of us, Republican, Independent, Democrat, should want to make sure that our vote counts, that people who can legally vote, vote. But those who can't. I mean, people who have died, people who don't live in the district anymore.
People who aren't citizens.
We should be taking every step that we can to identify how important it is to our democracy. It's the bedrock of our democracy.
Yeah, that's another provision for the people was some prohibition on continually cleaning the voter rolls and cleaning out. So if you were the person who was in charge of the voting rolls in any jurisdiction, you would figure that as a primary responsibility you had to look at the rolls, say, wow, look at this, these people moved away. I mean, you'd have to verify it, but it's a primary thing you do, and that was going to be prohibited by For the People. Okay, so Beth Van Duyne, tell our listeners how they can find you. First of all, it's great to see you.
Oh, thank you. It's good to see you too. I love, by the way, as soon as I finish voting in DC, I immediately come home. Because it just feels freedom, right? You hit Texas and it's so much different than being in DC. But follow me on Instagram, Facebook, BethForTexas.com is my website. Love to see you on Twitter because we don't have very many nice Twitter followers. But we're also getting active on Rumble and on Parler. So, but come out and visit us. Our district office is right in Cypress Waters. But come visit us tomorrow at this job fair. We're so excited about it.
Oh yeah, the job fair is a great idea.
Hundreds of people are going to be able to get jobs, and think about the difference that is going to make in their lives and in the lives of North Texas.
I love it. Beth Van Duyne, thank you so much for coming in.
Good to see you.
Great to see you. Okay, my friends, I really do urge you to support her. She is just she's a fighter, as you can tell, and she's articulate, able to talk about the issues that we care about in a way that's persuasive and substantive, and that's probably why she's such a disappointment to the left, because they thought they were going to win this district and they didn't.